Hey, good morning. This is Mathea with Renal Diet HQ. I wanted to do a live today and talk about the three ways you can eat healthier and save on your groceries. And this is all related to this information in the Slasher Grocery Bills Guidebook that I got last week. I was pretty excited because I have a teenage boy who is growing, who is growing and wants to eat everything all the time. And it seems like I never have enough money for groceries. So I loved this book. But when I looked through it, I thought these are perfect for people with kidney disease, because I know a lot of times you are trying to save money and eat healthier and follow your restrictions of your diet. So all those things are very important to you. And I want you to know that you don't have to sacrifice like eating healthy or saving money, because I think you can do both. But I wanted to talk through some of those ideas. And I also was going to tell you there's a link. It's renaldiethq.com/grocery-bill if you want to pick up that Slasher Grocery Guide. It's on sale for $7 today and tomorrow. It's like 60 pages. It's an ebook. You can put it on your iPad, but you can get that today and tomorrow for just $7. And full disclosure, I get a little bit of money when you buy that through my link, and I appreciate you for that, and I hope that you appreciate me. So the three ways I thought of were, number one, so buying fresh fruits and vegetables in season. And how you can know what's in season is you can look at localharvest.org. You can look at your farmers markets locally. I love going to farmers markets and towards the end of the day and picking up things maybe a little bit cheaper because they don't want to take them back with them to the farm, or also talking to them and saying, do you have like damaged or blemished vegetables or fruits that I can buy? And that way, sometimes people don't want to buy carrots or apples that aren't perfect, but they're still perfectly good. So that's an idea. Also looking at your sales flyers, you can kind of see what's in season, just because those things are usually less expensive. We weren't supposed to have strawberries all year long, and that's why they're $5 or $6 a container in the winter. So just try to manage what is supposed to be in season with your diet and help you buy a little bit better. The other thing I also love is when you buy some of those fresh fruits and vegetables, if you want to prep them and cut them up and put them in the freezer so you can have them later. So that's something like if you're getting a really good deal, if a farmer has, a bunch of, say, carrots or potatoes, you can prep those and then have them in your freezer. And that way, when the time comes to use them in soups or whatever, you can use those, but they didn't go bad. So I also love putting bread. So if I buy bread, I usually buy 2 loaves, and my family either eats it quickly or they let it sit there on the counter. So what I do is I automatically stick 1 loaf in the freezer. I learned this from my grandmother when I was growing up. We were very frugal, and she would always stick bread in the freezer. And then you take those breads out. So if your family wants to eat it slowly, then you could take just 1 or 2 slices and it defrosts pretty quickly. If your family's eating it quickly, then obviously it just takes a couple hours for it to defrost. So I love doing that to save on bread too. So there's a bonus tip. So number 2 that I had for you tips is to eat less meat. And you need to do that for your kidney diet anyway, unless you're on dialysis. If you're on dialysis, you're going to eat a little bit more protein, but it doesn't necessarily have to be meat. But thinking about meatless meals, and what I like to do is make some casseroles or some dishes that I can add beans to get a little bit more protein. And don't tell me that beans are full of potassium and phosphorus and that you can't have them, because you can, unless your potassium and phosphorus is elevated. And even then you can do things like, not use quite as many. But you're still going to have your beans and your lentils and your peas are going to give you about as much protein as an ounce of meat, but they're less expensive. They last a little longer. So one of the things I like to do is something like when I'm making tacos, I might cook the meat, but then also put some black beans in the meat so that it stretches a little further. And most of the time my family they would have mixed refried beans with beef, so it's not a big deal to them. If you don't like that, then just try to do it somewhere else. But think of ways that you can have more meatless meals. We really, in America, eat probably more meat than we absolutely need, and get more protein than we need. So you can just even see the lower amount of protein that you're supposed to eat on a renal diet. You're going to save money there, but you might also stretch that with some pastas. Usually have some protein in them, 2 or 3, 4, 5 grams. It just depends on the pasta. So you can get a good amount of protein there. But eating less meat will give you a better budget. And looking at things like if you can buy in bulk, then you can buy more meat and freeze it. I love to prep it, so I love to cook ground beef in a big bulk amount. And if I know, like, we usually put onions in our ground beef, so cook ground beef, put a little bit of onion in it, and then freeze it in portion size bags. So if it's just you might freeze it in half-cup bags, those little snack bags, little Ziplocs. If it's like for your family, you might do 2 cups, depending on what you typically use. Then freeze those flat in the freezer. And then when you're ready to take them out, then they're easy to get out of the bag and use in a cooking, and you're already almost there. You don't have to wait the 20 or so minutes for the meat to cook. And that way, I love to chop up, cooking chicken, and then either chopping it or just cooking it cooking it and then freezing it so that it's easier to take out and make into a meal when I'm ready for it. But those are just some ideas. Number 3 is to buy ahead items when they go on sale, and then freeze them. So freezer or canned. So if you have things that go on sale, I was talking about fresh fruits and vegetables, super easy to freeze. Meat on sale, freeze it. Just use your freezer. And then the other side of that is to go to your freezer and use it to make your meal plan for the week. But when you're looking at what you have kind of cycling, use those things to save a little money on groceries when you're kind of time shifting. So this week the pork chops are on sale. I go to a local meat market, and one week they'll have certain beef on sale, and 1 week they'll have pork on sale, 1 week they'll have chicken on sale. So I just buy extra, do what I talked about, prepping it, and then I get it ready to go. So those are my ideas. Those are not necessarily ideas that are in the book, so those are bonuses. But I want to remind you, if you're interested in getting this, I printed it out. It's not huge print, so it's actually a lot of information, but I want you to know about it because I think it's really important to your health. And I know most of you are on a fixed budget, or at least I'm not necessarily on a fixed budget, but I don't want to spend more money than I have to. So I wanted to give you those ideas today and go live and talk about it. Feel free to throw in your questions below when you watch the replay, or tag me and let me know what you thought, and let me know any of your tips that you have for saving money on your grocery bill. We can all crowdsource and have helpful to each other. So thanks. Have a great day.